What's that one story you've always wanted to tell on r/s askreddit, but no one has ever asked the right question? A friend from grad school had previously been a skydiving instructor in Colorado and had jumped more than 600 times. One of these times, he, for some reason, had his wallet in his suit and it fell out. Fell to earth somewhere. He figured, this sucks, but oh well. Absolutely no chance of finding it. Separately, a man in rural Colorado was found murdered. Turns out in their remote cabin where he lived with his daughter, he had been sexually abusing her and she finally had enough and killed him. The police searched the house and all of his property and found my friend's wallet in the trunk of his car. Police thought to themselves, fucking idiot murderer left his wallet in this dude's trunk? Damn easiest arrest ever. Friend had the super believable alibi of, couldn't have been me, officer. Actually, that wallet fell out of my pants while I was skydiving. I was once robbed at gunpoint in a public bus. Dude was talking to me like he was my friend while pointing the gun at me. He only asked me for the cash I had in my wallet, and after I gave it to him, he kept talking to me like we were random commuters having a conversation. Dude got more confident and asked for my phone. I said, no, not the phone, man. I need it. And he was like, fine, it's okay. Don't worry, we chill. 1010 would be assaulted by him again. My first and worst online date? The drunk and the baby. It's 2008, I'm 18, and I meet a girl on OkCupid. She's older than me. 25, educated and a bit alternative. We agree to meet at a London pub for lunch at 1 in the afternoon, which is quite a journey for me, but I make it anyway. So she turns up a bit late with a baby in a baby carriage. I had no idea she had a kid before this, but I didn't have a problem with it. She doesn't address that I didn't know about her kid, but says she couldn't find babysitting. Cool, no problem. We both go up and order a drink separately and hang out and chat. We've been there for about 2 hours, and she's gone up to the bar a whole bunch of times, mostly coming back with coffees and the occasional Coca-Cola. But then, quite suddenly, she falls forward onto the table and catches herself with her elbows and takes a big sigh and says, oh man, I didn't mean to get so drunk. What? I tell her I didn't realize that she's even been drinking, but she tells me that she's been having Irish coffees, rum, and cokes, as well as shots at the bar. So at this point I start looking for an out, but she's becoming more and more despondent, and her 1-year-old is sat in his pram so I can't leave in good conscience. I start encouraging her to get a taxi home and she starts to cry, apologizing and saying that I must hate her. But shortly after she closes her eyes and will only respond in mumbles and groans. I try and get her to come around enough to get an address out of her, which I can't. So I take her phone, which wasn't passworded, 2008 non-smartphones. Most people didn't password their phone back then. Find a contact called Mum and call it. I was hoping she could come and pick her up, but it turns out Mum lives in the south of Spain. She isn't one bit happy to hear from me after I explain what happened, but presenting myself as a friend. Nonetheless, she gives me an address to get her to. I ask the bar to call me a taxi, which they do, and one of the bar staff take pity on me and help me get the woman, the baby, and the stroller into the cab. I was about to give the driver money for the trip and see them off, but I realized that was a bad idea because who knows what would happen. So I get in the taxi to go take her home holding a baby the entire way, which I've never done in my life at that point. Turns out the driver is a stand-up bloke and I explain what has happened, and we have a laugh about it. When we get there, he even assembles the pram for me as I take her and place her on her doorstep. I find her keys and get her door open, at which point some guy pops his head around the corner from the kitchen and asks, who the fuck are you? I tell him my name and that I'm a friend and ask who he is. He says he's her fiance. Uh-oh. He's pretty angry that I've gotten his fiance with his child drunk in the middle of the day. After getting the pram through the door, he begins to carry her up the stairs and he says to me, you stay right there. You and I need to have a little chat. Nope. As soon as he turns the corner at the top of the stairs, I turn and make a run for it. Jump back in the taxi, who I asked to take me to the nearest tube station. Afterward, I needed some catharsis, so texted some friends who were locals and went out proper. And the kicker. On the train home that night, I get a text message from her. Had a lovely time. Can't wait to see you again. I block her number and never hear from her again. TLDR, went on date. Date turns up with child and gets drunk without my knowledge. I drag her back to hers to make sure she's safe, only to find she also has a fiance who is less than pleased to see me. My husband, then boyfriend, and I were driving to his place. He had one of those cars where the front seat had one combined long seat up front. I had moved over to sit right next to him, and he had his arm wrapped around me. At one point, I glanced over to my right, and there was a van full of clowns. They were miming making out at us, like 3 clowns in their front seat. They pulled away laughing. I like to walk quickly, but one day I encountered somebody ahead of me whose walking pace matched mine, possibly even beat it, so I went faster. I strained my ankles, my arms began to swing wildly, but I did it. I eventually overtook her. To assert my walking speed dominance in the most futile way possible, I didn't duck or avoid any of the low-hanging branches that were ahead of me. I plowed straight through them face first without flinching. I kept my uncomfortably fast swinging arm walk run up until I was sure I was out of sight again. Nobody beats my walking pace. Nobody. Got electrocuted my first day of high school. I was in a jazz band class that met before first period. Awkward teenage me new to high school and not great at bass guitar. Electric guitarist asked me to hold his guitar while he grabs some sheet music. I hold my bass in my left hand while grabbing his guitar with my right. The building we were playing in was built sometime in the 60s, and I guess it had some sort of faulty wiring. The next few things happened probably within 2 or 3 seconds. I instantly felt a weird sensation through my arms and chest, and my arms were visibly shaking. I remember trying to let go of the guitars right away, but my hands only gripped harder. Electrical stimulation caused all my arm muscles to contract at once. I remember hearing loud feedback from both amps, and when I let out a sort of yelp, it sounded like a loud, distorted version of my voice coming from the amps. Everyone else just heard the feedback, oh oh. I passed out, briefly saw some popping blue lights, and woke up on the floor with blood all over my face and in my ear. Apparently what everyone else saw was me vibrate and faint into my amp and onto the floor. My band director, late 50s, apparently moved like lightning to unplug the amp and probably saved my life. When I woke up, I noticed the blood in my ear first, and my first thought was that I had some sort of inner ear damage. It turned out I just smacked my face on the knobs of the amp on my way down. I tried to sit up, but my teacher told me to stay still until the ambulance arrived. Then I noticed all my classmates and sister, same class, looking pale and staring at me. The nurse came in and let me sit in a chair. I was holding a towel to my face when my mom burst into the room. Apparently my sister had called her, and her mom instincts took over. She U-turned back toward the school, drove across some part of a lawn, and made it there before the ambulance. She insisted on driving me to the hospital, where I got some face stitches and did some tests, but otherwise ended up fine. Really, the worst part about the experience was not getting any superpowers. The whole band wrote a get well card full of puns about being shocked to hear the story. Also, both guitars were miraculously undamaged. Edit spelling, forgot some detail. I accidentally stole a car. I had just gotten off work. I was working 2 jobs at the time, and I got barreled any sleep. I walked out and got into my car, started it up, and started driving home. I didn't realize something was wrong until I couldn't find my AUX cord, and then I started realizing that there were things in the car that were not mine, like the child seat in the back. I was an 18-year-old with no kids. I flip a U-turn and bust ass back to work to hopefully get the car back before its owner notices it's gone. I didn't. Cops were there, and I was very quickly arrested. Owner dropped charges only after 3 things were done. 1, I showed my keys unlocked and started her car, then pointed to my car, which was the same model, color, and year. 2, one of my coworkers vouched for the fact that the customer parked in the spot I almost always parked in it. 3, camera footage was pulled for the past 9 days I had worked, showing that 7 of those days I parked in that spot, and the other 2 I parked close to it. Edit. Y'all, the cops were doing their job and were polite about it because I cooperated. And the owner was right to be angry. I was a punk-ass kid who in her eyes had just stolen her car, or at least took it out for a joyride. The owner was a single mother, and wasting any of her gas could have meant bad things. Please stop saying that you were assholes. I once got beer using a McLovin ID from the movie Superbad. I was 20 from US, so still underage. I was on a business trip and was waiting for my flight when I decided to get dinner at one of the airport restaurants. The waitress asked me what I'll have to drink, and I ask what's on tap, because why the fuck not? I order a Corona, but she asks for my ID. So I hand her my McLovin ID, best $4 I've ever spent. She looks at it, smiles, and says, okay, and comes back with my beer. The cherry on top was when she came back a couple minutes later with another beer and gave it to me for free, saying she had accidentally poured an extra. That was the best moment of my otherwise uneventful and vanilla life. Fogel forever. I was a huge slacker in high school. I wouldn't read reading assignments, I'd cheat on assignments and tests. I outright didn't do assignments if I didn't feel that the grade was worth the time, etc. Most of my teachers were aware of my laziness, and a few of them, rightfully, suspected the cheating aspect as well. My buddy was the same way. In my Spanish 1 class, we had Spanish nicknames just for fun. Mine was Tomas, and my buddy's was Josue. This was the last period of each day, and our teacher would let us out before the bell would ring if we were to finish class early. For each chapter in our textbook, we'd be given an assignment to make flashcards on which one side would be one of the chapter's vocabulary terms, and the other side would be the English translation. Easy assignment, right? Well, it was worth such few points that I couldn't be bothered to ever do it anyway. To grade them, she'd walk up and down the aisles between the desks, check for the stack of vocabulary cards, and move on to the next student. Nothing too thorough. It's the end of the period and we're ready to leave early as usual, which she said that we could do after she checks our cards. She goes to check Josue's cards, and he actually has them done. I'm stunned just as much as she is. As she continues up the aisle and with her back turned, Josue passes me his cards. As she approaches me, she asks, Tomas, do you have your vocabulary cards? Without even looking at me, expecting me to say, no. Yes, ma'am, I respond, flashing the cards at her. She looks baffled. She knows that something is up. Josue, where are your cards? Oh, I put them away, Mrs. Reyes. Do you mind pulling them out and showing them to me again? As Josue reaches underneath his desk for his binder, he of course doesn't say anything. But he doesn't have to. His facial expression says it all. I neither want to screw over my friend nor want to get caught cheating. How severe would the punishment be? Our friend Jaime is eager to have his cards checked so that he can leave early. Completely unaware of what's going on, Jaime walks up to Mrs. Reyes from behind and asks if she'll check his cards. She turns around, and as she checks his cards, I give Josue his cards back. How do I get us out of this predicament? Get us out. Mrs. Reyes turns back around and sees Josue with his cards. She then looks to me and asks, Tomas, now, where are your cards? I threw them away, I sheepishly answer. She gives me the all too familiar look of disappointment and asks, why would you do that? I continue, let's be honest, you and I both know that I won't use them anyway. Well, go get them and show them to me, please. This is it. We're about to get caught cheating. Is there a way out of this? I walk to the trash can, brainstorming what to do when I get to it, and don't have any cards to show her. Do I shamelessly act like they're suddenly missing from the trash can? Do I cut the bullshit and try the honesty route? I don't know. I continue to the trash can and am flabbergasted at what I find. A stack of the chapter's vocabulary cards sitting neatly on top. No fucking way. I bring them back to my desk and show them to her. She looks to Josue and he flashes his cards to her as well. With a surprised tone, she says, I'm sorry that I ever doubted you two. She continues checking others' cards and my buddy whispers, whose cards are those? Dude, I have no fucking clue. The next day, I tell Jaime about what happened. He asks, you know what's funny? What? Those were my cards. I threw them away on my way out of class. Those cards were there for only seconds and he had no idea that I needed him to put them there. What are the odds? TLDR, I lied about doing a homework assignment, cheated to get a grade for it, lied about throwing it in the trash, got called out for the lie, and found somebody else's homework assignment in the trash to prove that I was telling the truth. Edit, I cleaned up some grammatical issues. 6th grade, I'd hit a major growth spurt, so most of my clothes didn't fit, and my family couldn't afford new ones. Once winter came around, the only jacket I had that I could still fit in even a bit was much too thin to be of any use. My teacher noticed, and I walked into class one morning to see a big, fluffy winter coat on the back of my chair and a chicken soup for the soul book on my desk. Her kindness still makes my eyes water, even almost 2 decades later. Ms. Robertson, if you're reading this, thank you. I never forgot. Edit. I really never thought I'd say this, but RIP inbox. I posted this late to the thread and thought it would get buried. Didn't think I'd get more than 20 updates, and especially not gold. To answer some common questions, this was in the Phoenix, AZ area, and I've tried to get in touch with her since, but I don't remember her first name and she doesn't work at the school anymore. My first reaction was to hesitate. I thought maybe someone had come in early to do homework or be tutored or something and left their stuff. But she saw my hesitation and ushered me over to my seat. I've gotten more than a few comments about how it's an amazing thing that she did so, especially on a teacher's salary, and I agree. It wasn't an inexpensive coat, and I wore that thing until I literally couldn't anymore.